Hello there. This is Ace of Snakes, and I am here to explore the mystery behind the three most disturbing and creepy discs in Minecraft. Discs 13, 11, and 5. Just so you know, most of my information will be building on MatPat's game theory about the discs, but I do have a few thoughts of my own on the topic. I'll be using sources from the Minecraft wiki and other websites for this video, so please enjoy and understand my pain. The only disc in the trio that was added during the beginning of the game, which was the alpha's version 10.14, was disc 13. It was made by C14, and it was one of the first music discs added to the game, besides Cat, which was also made by C14. Disc 13 was very unusual and creepy compared to Cat. It played various ambient cave and mob sounds that only play as you move throughout different places in Minecraft, mostly caves. It took 1 year for C14 to make a new set of music discs for the second pre-release of the game. These discs were Blocks, Chirp, Ward, Far, Mall, Mellow High, is that how you pronounce it? Yeah. Stall, Strahd, Ward, and Disc 11. All of these were added in the first update of the game, and all of them were normal and monotone, except for 11, which was seriously creepy. Two discs with a number for names and are both creepy. When you play Disc 11, you are greeted with coughing, running, and a lot of screaming. We're not sure who or what is screaming. It's not typical screaming either, it's unnatural and horrifying, like an Enderman. Disc 11 is the second disc in what we can now call the creepy disc trifecta. But we had to wait until 2022, 11 years later, for the third disc in the trifecta to be added into the game. And it was named 5. Unlike the other discs, 5 was made by Samuel Alberg, and it was terrifying. Alberg set it up so that before you could listen to the disc, you had to collect 9 pieces of it scattered around in the chests of ancient cities in Minecraft. Once you put them all together, you can finally listen to the discs. This gave us a nice quest to fulfill and made us anticipate listening to the music disc even more than we would have otherwise. Smart move, Sinister Sam. Because it was shattered, Disc 5's audio will constantly blank out in some parts, giving it some added mystery. The other 2 numbered discs told a more straightforward story. All 3 numbered discs contain creepy, disturbing sounds, but they have more than this in common. Both Disc 5 and 11 are physically damaged, while 13, the original numbered disc, is intact. The discs are numbered in descending order, starting with the unluckiest number of all, 13. The number 13 is actually supposed to be an unlucky number or an evil one. Most hotels don't have a floor labeled 13, and it's not used for airplanes either. 11, however, is associated with spiritual awakening or creativity, as well as winning at dice. 5 is associated with change, love, evolution, and obedience. So 13 is the bad apple out of all of these discs, but it's the only one intact. 7 and 5 have numbers associated with more positive stuff, yet they are broken. Does that mean the bad and evil in the world are whole while the good is fragmented? Other things these discs have in common is that they're all named after prime numbers, so they have to be related in some way or another, but they can't be reduced to one another, as primes can't be factors of other primes. The fact that Disc 11 and 5 appear to be broken or misshapen, but 13 is still intact, is also related to where these discs are found. Like I said before, 5 is broken and spread out. Now you have to collect all 9 disc fragments, which are found deep in the caves, to put it back together. This makes me think that the deeper they went in the caves, the more they were damaged, as it became harder to record their experiences while being constantly under attack. These discs are probably labeled for a reason. The sounds on these 3 discs also link to another. All of them play sounds that only come from caves or mobs. Disc 13 starts with ambient noises that play as you enter into the cave. Disc 11's sounds are what plays while you running on gravel, and stone mostly. You hear it in the caves because if you were on the surface you'd be running on dirt. which makes an entirely different sound. And all 3 discs play the sounds of various mobs that only spawn in the underground or at night. When you put all the pieces together of Disc 5, it sounds of Skulk and the Warden, as well as a few other ambient cave noises. All of these discs have something to do with caves, and I think all of these discs have to be recorded in a cave-like environment. They're recording their experience underground. After all, the underground is a very dangerous place in Minecraft. All of the mobs spawn there. Hell, even the most powerful mobs only spawn underground. That's probably why most of the discs are shattered, because 11 and 13 were farther underground where the mobs were able to kill the people while they were recording it. Why else are only these discs labeled with numbers instead of names like cat or blocks? It's because they're documentaries or a sequential number of films. All the other discs with non-numbered names were just music. Numbers seem to mean the disc is going to have seriously creepy ambient sounds, and that doesn't play in music, but the numbers might mean more than that. What if the numbers on the disc represent a chronological sequence of sounds that accompanied someone's descent into the deep underground? If that's right, then for all we know, there could be an entire archive of lost discs underground. Why do you think some of these discs are not in order? There's 5, 11, and 13. What if there's 12, 10, and 1? Let's assume these discs are not going in the order from 1 to 100, like I said before. And let's assume that these discs are numbered in reverse, so we don't have to start off from the beginning of the cave, when disc 1 is being recorded, but at the bottom of the underground. If that's the case, then disc 13 must be the final disc. Not only are we at the cave entrance, we also hear the same cave ambient noises playing in the background when we enter or exit a cave in Minecraft. Preferably exit. Disc 11 plays some of these same sounds, which means that there is somebody trying to leave or exit the cave. So disc 11 overlaps with 13. If there's one thing I'm certain of, it's that disc 5 starts near the end of our story. It starts when people are marching underground, clearly ready for something, like a big battle, only to be cut off. We clearly hear sounds of a guy running from something again. My guess is that the Wither, like in MatPat's game theory, drove the people underground, and they kept going deeper and deeper to escape the Wither. Because if you watched game theory, you know what I'd be talking about. They recorded their experiences with these discs in case anybody else would find them, or maybe they just wanted to record their attempt at escape, like Moses in Exodus. Also, the 5th in the series, by the way. Whatever the reason, the discs reveal that the people went where the Wither couldn't find them. We hear in the audio that there are multiple people living in this underground. And we also hear the heavy and metallic sound of armored boots marching. Maybe these people were finally ready to kill the Wither, or maybe they were just trying to get geared up for something else. We don't know, because we don't have any sounds of the battle. That might give us a clue. But what do we know is that the clip after this clip, the audio on disc 5, changes to the perspective of the person. Why would a disc do that? Why would it abruptly change to an entirely different audio perspective? Maybe it's because the disc is shattered and parts of it are still scratchy and stuffed. But despite all the obvious problems with the disc, it still has a clear story to tell. At the outset, we hear the footsteps marching together. We can tell right away that it's an army, possibly wearing armor because of the metallic sounds that hit the stone. In the next part, we hear what seems to be the low rumbling of a creature like the Warden. Maybe these people were stepping into the Skulk's territory, which summoned the Warden. The disc then immediately cuts to this weird, happy, trippy music. If disc 5 is shattered and put together, I think maybe one of the fragments of the discs accidentally mixed in with another part of a disc when it was put back together. Maybe like a music disc, since it has music, and like we said, the discs with numbers and are documentaries told in sound. It would have to be a disc with an actual name instead of a number. This might actually be from a disc that is undiscovered. The music doesn't last long either. The sound comes right back to a mashup of weird bubbling and skulk audio. The disc then cuts to a perspective of one person running and traveling throughout the caves, blocks to tower up into certain ledges, and passing by various skulk sensors. That's just how Minecraft players play. The character we have been listening to avoids most of the sensors, but eventually triggers enough to accidentally summon the warden. How do we know this? It plays the audio in the disc. Along with the warden comes the wither. Here the disc mixes audio of the wither dying and the warden's roar. So we have to assume the warden killed the wither. Thanks to game theory for decoding that. Though the audio is very scuffed and warped, we can still see a clear story from these discs. My theory about the disc is that the entire army of people who were sick and fed up with being driven underground by the wither tried to kill it in an all-out effort. The fight inevitably failed, and all we have left of these recordings, the complete recording, must have been during the uprising. It must have gone shattered toward the end, or something was fleeing it. Or someone was fleeing it. One of the survivors takes the shards they can find, but also grabs shards of another disc, including the one shard that was probably from a music disc, and runs off into the distance where he tries to escape the wither, while passing by multiple skulk sensors that causes the skulk to form a plan to survive. And we can assume that plan is the warden. As the wither continues to pursue the player flicks a bunch of tools around to try and improve his odds of survival, which are clearly close to none. But when the wither finally catches up to him, a final skulk sensor fires off and summons the warden, which presumably kills the wither. It also probably kills the person recording the disc, which is why I'm guessing the disc is shattered and spread out in the ancient city, because that's where the warden is summoned. This one makes sense, because during the audio, we hear the sound of 3 skulk sensors being fired off, which relates to the fact that it takes 3 skulk sensors and a shrieker to summon the warden. Even though we don't hear the shrieker's noise, we can still presume that that sensor led to the shrieker. Maybe the adventurer didn't die and instead was fatally injured, and Disc 11 and 13 is his journey to escape the caves. And I definitely believe that it is. Disc 11 continues from the perspective of this player running on stone and being in a much higher elevation of the underground instead of being in the ancient cities in the deep dark, running from various mobs such as creepers or skeletons and zombies. Also, writing stuff in his journal because we hear the sound of paper and sketching on the disc's audio. He has almost no disc to record on. Near the end, he suffers a fatal blow from the creeper and lands in water, but is still alive. Just 13, we hear many cave ambient noises being played when you enter or exit a cave. Or, well, being in the cave, maybe the adventurer finally got out of the cave and we are playing in their perspective of a survivor of a long-lost culture, ancient cities, just like strongholds. Ancient cities, just like strongholds, are very large underground ancient civilization. Cities, just like the strongholds, are very far underground, and since the ancient civilization was forced to be there in the first place to hide from the wither, it would make sense that they would build things like this, like cities or fortresses. Shout out to Game Theory for decoding this. Underground. When these fortresses were attacked, some of them fled, where the others tried to fight the wither and failed, evidently creating the wardens from all the damage that was caused by the humans and the wither fighting, absorbing its power from the skulk sensors. It was studying them. When the fight failed, the last surviving member of this civilization tried to flee the underground, being chased by the wither in pursuit. When he hit a dead end and was facing certain death, the skulk sensor had been triggered enough times to create its own abomination, just like the wither. If the soul sand in the wither makes the wither skull, if the soul sand in the wither skull makes the wither, the souls of the dead comrades of the last survivor created the Warden. And the Warden struck the final blow that killed the Wither. And even though it takes 2 Wardens to kill 1 Wither, we can assume that the Wither had already been damaged by the other survivors. The last survivor, being damaged from the fight and all the running, decided to run from this new threat as it chased him. The Warden fired off 1 sonic blast to knock the survivor away, and when the Warden pursued they dead, they were not. During the events of Disc 11 and 13, the human had been trying to find a way out of the caves for so long, crossing many ravines and avoiding the dangerous mobs to finally get to the surface. And when they did, they had the freedom to do whatever they want. It was no longer about running and being under constant threat while hiding from these dangerous mobs. It was no longer about mining and crafting and trying to survive and avoid from all the mobs. They could do whatever they wanted now. They could create anything they wanted. They can start off where their dead ancestors started. And that's the beginning of Minecraft. I hope y'all like this video. If you want to smash that like button, if you hate it, please do. I'm in crippling debt and I can't afford another drive-by, so please like and subscribe this video and I'll see you guys next time.